Welcome to Aging Out Loud with Laura and Jamie. We're so excited. Today we have our first guest. And before I introduce him, I'll just give you a little information. Our guest today is a managing director and the founder of Altium Wealth Management with offices in New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. He has extensive experience in the areas of securities, financial services, estate planning, and executive benefits. He is a certified financial planner, has a master's in financial services, and has a degree in exit strategy planning. In 2007, he published the first edition of his book, Keep It, Grow It, Enjoy It, Bestow It. It's also available on Amazon with 100% five-star reviews. His primary goal with his clients is to give them clarity, confidence, and control over their financial world. Please welcome Mitch Brill.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. You made me
Good
sound so
morning.
good. I appreciate it.
Right? I included the five-star reviews on Amazon. I thought that was
You sound
essential.
That's great.
Well, we haven't got any reviews yet, Mitch. So,
Mm.
you've got reviews, you've got nothing.
Yep. And I'm so honored to be your first guest. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so you should be. And so you should be, because this is going to be brilliant. This whole
Did I mention Jamie's modesty?
It's all good.
I'm trying to get away from that whole British stereotype thing where we all just
Yeah.
say, "Oh, no, it's not about me. I'm so humble." No, fuck them.
No.
It's all about me.
There you
Yeah.
go. And you say it with a great accent, so you can get away with it.
Right. He can get away with it
First F
over
of the
here.
episode.
Yeah.
So Laura and I, we come up with this name. Well, we were talking about a phrase a while ago. We were on the phone. I was on the street, and this word in fact, when we worked together in New York, Laura and I, this phrase was something that somebody had given to me years and years ago, which is, "How do I get fuck off money?" And for this guy, it meant enough money to say no to everybody. It wasn't about retirement. It was about just being able to say, no, I'm not going to take that job. I'm not going to do that thing. Just no. In this context, I think it means something very slightly, well, it means, I don't know, I mean,
Well, now that we're facing it, now we're like there.
So I suppose, what does it mean to us all is the first thing, right? Mitch, what do you take? You have these conversations all the time, right? What does that mean to you?
So I actually think it means something else it's in the eye of the beholder, right? It means something else to different people. I think, though, when I think about clients and we consider when is your passive income enough to help you live the rest of your life so that you can say no to anything that you want? I think that's the simple definition. It's, when do I have enough money so that I can live my life without having to work, and then I can do the things I want to do. It's freedom for most people.
Choice and control for me.
Right. It's for a lot of people comes down to, I ask people what their purpose for money is all the time. And it's one of two answers I always get. Every once in a while, I get something that's not this, but it's very, very rare. The answer is either lifestyle or security. And I would tell you that I think both of those are security. If you really wrap it up, it's the security to know that I can do what I want to do without having to work or rely on someone else for income.
Yeah. I want financial independence and security.
Right. And I think that's what financial independence is for people. It's different for everybody. I mean, I could give you a formula, but it's really different for everybody. And just because I can come up with a formula that will get somebody there doesn't mean that emotionally they'll get there. Because money is about it. It's interesting. When I first start to talk to a brand new client, we always have the conversation that money is emotional. It's not financial always. And we spend a lot of time talking to them about what's important to them, because if it wasn't about the emotional piece, you could do it with AI. But you really can't, because those conversations need to be had about what's important, and what's important to some person is not necessarily important to another one. And it's really important that whoever someone works with as their financial consultant take the time to understand what's important to them.
Yes, we and I don't know about you. I mean, I'm a self-employed guy, right, Mitch? And having run my own thing for 20 years, I find myself massively conflicted because it was never about money for me. It was all about choice and control and amount of money. As long as I never knew what the number was going to be, or I still don't know what the number is going to be. I still want choice and control. And actually, I don't really want to stop, but kind of I do want, that I'm at that moment where I'd like to half stop. I don't know what, and I'm sure everybody and now I feel like my mind's in chaos because before I knew exactly what I was doing. Family, money, kids, school, blah,
You
whatever.
did? You knew exactly what you were doing?
Well,
Well,
I knew what the number, I knew what, that's very, very good point. Maybe I
Oh,
didn't. But now I feel like I'm now confused, right? I'm sitting on all this money. I don't know whether it's enough. Yeah, just suddenly I'm starting this conversation with Laura, right? We're both now I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm thinking, I don't know. And I've got a friend, Jason, who stopped 4 years ago, and now he's having his financial consultant in the UK do the numbers to say, when am I going to run out? Like, if I keep
that's yeah.
what I'm spending now, when am I going to run out? As am I going to, yeah, that comes,
Well, as a sidebar, just to cut you off, um, on on Facebook, I posted out to my whatever friends, and that was one of the big things. Is it possible to run out? Is that a thing? It's a
sure,
big concern.
sure. So here's a couple questions for you guys. If you could have the confidence that you're not going to run out, what would you do differently? And that's question one. And the other question is, what does stopping working mean? What are you going to do? Like, how do you fill your days, and are you comfortable with that? Because once you get to I'm not going to run out of money in my lifetime, then it's how do I fill my time, and how do I make it meaningful, and how do I live according to my purpose, and all that stuff.
That's stuff I got to figure out.
I'm so letting Laura go first. Come on, Laura, you can do it. You can do it.
What?
Come on.
What do I definitely want purpose. I'm not just going to sit around and collect dust. I'm not like that. Although I do need a nap in the afternoon. But up until that point, I mean, I like the idea of making a contribution somehow. I would love it if we could make this podcast work and do stuff around that and build on that. But, as a therapist, I am enjoying my work. I'd like to keep doing that for a while.
That's great.
Oh goodness me, how long have you got?
Come on, Jamie.
Got about half an hour. So I think the first inklings of that, like your lifestyle question, how much is enough, came to my wife and I late last year. We started thinking, we've been walking the dogs for 5 years, going, how much, when do we sell it? It's our own business. And then suddenly you sit down and do a spreadsheet and realize I think you're sort of almost trained by the lifestyle you've had
For
the
sure.
lifestyle you end up having, right?
Mhm.
I'm not a flash guy. I don't drive a Ferrari. I've lived because we've never, because we've been okay, but not, not rich. And I don't really also really care about other people. So suddenly I think that's why I'm sitting there going, well, I could probably just not do it anymore. Because if you do the maths, I could stop. However, to your second point, I would drive everybody mad. I do a 14-hour day at the moment, and I kind of, maybe I don't want to do a 14-hour day, but I don't want to do a 0-hour day because that would,
Right.
everyone would go mad, right? And so there's got to be and it's not even about the money. So then you think, well, do I stop doing what I'm doing now and start doing something completely different because that would give me fresh everything? Or do I do a little bit of what I do now and then some other stuff? This, as Laura says, this is really exciting, actually, secretly quite exciting for both of us, because we think it's a really interesting subject. We both think it's a really interesting subject.
And you could probably bring what you know to this as well, what you're an expert in.
Well, I think we're good communicators and we like other people. Well, I think I like some of the people.
Um,
Actually, no, scratch
speak
that.
for yourself.
I don't
Yeah.
like anybody else really, but
Yeah.
you know, we're good with people, and I think we probably both really value honesty. So this is interesting, right? It's something else that we neither of us have done before. So it's just you want to be interested in the next however long.
Mhm.
What do people do? My question to you is: if you've seen people run out, what have they done apart from be idiots?
So I haven't seen people run out. And the reason I haven't is because the way we do planning is we actually ask them to go through a budget exercise and figure out if they're going to run out. Because if you're going to run out, you want to know about it far ahead of time when you could actually do something about it. So thankfully, the clients haven't run out of, no client has run out of money. I know clients whose plans are in trouble, and the only thing we can do is tell them, here's what's going to happen if you continue on the path that you're on. And then hopefully, like anything else, someone says, hey, if there's a brick wall, I don't want to keep heading for it. I want to figure out a way to avoid the wall, and we can help them with that. But, running out of money, there are things you can do. So let's say you own your house, you could do a reverse mortgage and take money out of your house. There are things like that that become opportunities, but it kind of comes back to what's important to people, because some people will tell me it's important for me to leave a legacy, leave money in my kids or a charity. And if that's part of your DNA, who you are, right? Or die broke
Nice.
and the hell with them, right? Or die broke. Uh, but if that's who you are, then that needs to be planned for.
Yeah. I think, and I think, I mean, you're a young man, mate, so I'm sure you haven't been doing this for
Oh,
your.
thank you.
Okay, well, that's a lie. I've just
Oh,
been
yeah, I'm
nice.
not really a young man.
My question was going to be, how has that changed over your time in the industry, right? Because if I look at my mother-in-law, my parents, leaving people things was really important for them.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm not sure it is for us. You know,
You're absolutely right. It's generational. That was really
Yes,
important to my grandparents. And I remember sitting down with my grandparents and them telling me, you're going to get this, and my brother's going to get this, and my sister's going to get that. And I remember those conversations. And I remember I used to say, just spend your money, enjoy it. I'd much rather see you enjoy it than leave it to me. But now it's a different conversation. I will say that once you're comfortable and everything's okay, and you know that you're gonna be able to live the life you wanna live, some people still think it's important to leave something to their children. Some don't. Some wanna spend their last dollar on their last day. The only problem is who knows when that happens, right?
and I think that has a lot to do with
Right.
generationally because, like, I remember my father saying to me, "Max out your 401k." We didn't have 401ks.
Right.
They didn't even have them. They would hide their money in the fridge or in the coffee can or something. So my father was like, This 401k thing is amazing. You need to sock it away." And I started saving in my 401k in my late 20s. And now I've read articles that say, what?
what's a 401k?
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
it's a retirement plan. What do you guys call it?
they have different.
Oh,
So a
sorry,
401k is
Jamie.
you put money in and the money goes in pre-tax, and the taxes are deferred until you take it out. It's
Okay,
it's what most people in the US use as a retirement account.
okay,
Oh, what do you
but
guys have?
it's not
You
a
have a pension?
it's not a state funded
Oh,
thing.
It's not. It's
it is
not. I
not a
know
state
it's
funded
different because
thing.
I've had clients in the UK, so it's a different. I was
Okay,
wondering when that was gonna come up. But
yeah, no, so
but
we have. So I've got a pension, so as in a proper pension thing. I've got a thing called a God. I think it's a similar thing to what you guys have got. It's on my phone. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the same thing. The money goes in pre-tax, and actually the growth is tax free. So,
it's
but you're limited to the amount you can put into it every year.
yeah,
And
so
yeah,
same thing with the 401k plan. The challenge is it gets taxed on the way out. Not a
yeah,
Roth, but and that's a different kind of plan that we don't
mhm,
really have to get
yeah.
into, but that's what happens and that's how it works. So, but Laura, you bring up an interesting point. Um, we are product of our whole upbringing, right? And our parents told us things that may or may not be true, but they believed them. And it comes from, I think about sitting with my grandparents who survived the depression, had depression mentality. They wanted to pay off their house. They
Mm.
wanted, they wanted safety and security. And they thought the things they were doing would give them safety and security. But when you really dig down, they might not have. If you think about having your house paid off, your money is locked up in an asset that's real estate. If you have your money separated from your house and you have a mortgage, you're much more nimble and flexible.
Yep.
So you really have to start to think about, does it make sense? I can make other arguments for that as well, but there are things that we believe, and we believe them to be true about money, that just aren't true, and it takes challenging it to see whether that's really right or not.
So give me an
And
example. Give an example of something that's not true,
So
please.
people want to have their house paid off, and people think that their house appreciates in value and the money grows inside the house. The money doesn't grow inside the house. And I'll give you an example, right? So let's say Jamie and I buy the identical houses on the same block. So essentially they're exactly the same, and we each buy the house for $500,000. He puts down $100,000 and gets a $400,000 mortgage. I put down $500,000. Now, it's 2 years later, Laura, and you come along, and those houses have both appreciated in value to $1,000,000. And we're both selling our house. Yeah, good investment, right? We're both selling our house. Who made the better investment? Was it me because I put $500,000 down and I'm getting 500,000 of profit? Or was it Jamie because he put $100,000 down and made $500,000 of profit? The answer is it was him. The house appreciated in a mortgage neutral fashion, meaning you weren't willing to pay more because of our mortgage situation, right?
Right?
Because of that, the money that sits in the house doesn't really grow. It gets eaten away at by inflation. The house grows in value, but the money doesn't. And we're trained to think you should have your house paid off, your house grows in value. It's just not necessarily true. But emotionally, people need to feel their house paid off.
now, now this is bringing something up in for me that is, I mean, I feel ashamed to say it, right? But and I think I might have said it to her before. For me, you know, small businessman, 20 years, etc., making money is interesting. I, one of the reasons why I don't think I can stop is making money is interesting. Managing money is, I just, I kind of lose the will to live really quickly, really, really quickly. And it's not like it's boring. Well, I don't know, mate. I look at my own money and think, okay, I spent 5 minutes looking at that. How managing your own money, is it just me? I just
I
can't get to it.
I'll add on to that. I'm emotionally incapable of managing my own money. I manage money for a living, but I don't manage my money. My employees do, because I'm not emotionally capable of doing it.
Okay. God, it's not just me. Okay, thank
No,
you.
it's not just you. People shouldn't manage their own money. We have hedge fund managers who are clients who don't manage their own money, for a lot of different reasons, but mostly it's, I'm not emotionally capable of managing my own money because I'll make decisions that are emotional, not financial, and that will be bad for me.
Yeah. Laura, how do we feel about, well, which is well, if you're prepared to answer, I can ask Laura because I can be unfair. But how do we feel about giving money to the kids? How do we feel about the bestowing thing?
Well,
They're never,
okay.
they're never going to listen to this, by the way. They won't listen to it. They won't have
Yeah,
got
yeah,
this
they're
far.
never gonna listen to this. Yeah. Um, so as far as leaving money to my kids, I want to leave them something. I mean,
Yeah.
they're my estate. They're gonna get my estate, whatever it is. I'm not like stockpiling money away for them to use. I am using my money and living my life, and they get whatever's left. I want them to. I don't want them to rely on me for
No,
to
but you're not
benefit in
going
the future.
to. But you're not going to not go to Aruba so that they get more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we're
I
all
feel like
we're all
I feel like the generation prior, like our parents, they like, no, we're gonna, we're saving for our
Right.
kids. We're putting it away for our kids. We're putting it away for our kids. But I think there's a different mentality now because, like, if you look generationally, like our kids are Gen Z, and their mentality is live their life,
Right.
work to
Work to live.
not work to live, not live to work.
Right.
interesting. So just to build on I remember when my dad was about to retire, he passed away a few years ago now. So what my parents would my mum's in her late 80s now. I remember my mum saying to me, "Oh, look, we're going to be really poor when we retire because your dad didn't do a very good job with the pension. Actually, he sold pensions for a living, so he was fine, right? And they've had that was wrong. They've had a great retirement, but they would have been really abstemious about spending money in retirement. They still were worrying about saving money in retirement. My brother and I are both fine. We don't need their money. We might need their money when we're old, but we didn't need their money now. But equally that generational thing. I'm looking forward to spending as much as I can. I think probably for at least 10
And I
years,
think it was a guessing game for them.
Right.
maybe.
It was more of a guessing game.
Depression mentality, things like that. So two things about that. I remember sitting with my grandparents, and my grandparents would say, "You're going to get this." They were also invested in CDs. That's what they were buying, but interest rates were much higher then. So they didn't know enough to switch from CDs to stock, which means when the interest rates came down, they were making a lot less money and trying to live on less than that, and really just Social Security at that point, which is the government program.
Yeah. And so how do we feel about what to invest in now? Given, like now.
Diversify, and have different buckets of money so that you can, when things change. So as an example, right, the market's in turmoil right now, I would say, really
Mm.
volatile.
Yeah.
So when stocks are going down, you don't want to take your money out of stocks, which is why you have bonds or fixed income. So, but if you have different buckets, you can go to the bucket that makes sense to go to or is more efficient in any given time.
Yeah.
So that's what's important. So, but going back to the leaving the legacy piece, here's the other thing. Would you rather see your kids enjoy it while you can watch them enjoy it, or would you rather them enjoy it when you're gone? And I think that's what we go through today, right?
Yeah. I can watch my wife's mother at the moment. She's very close to my kids. They're all very, very good friends. They all talk to each other all week. And, she's desperately trying to get them as much money as she can get them now to watch them spend it. She wants to watch them spend it now.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a conversation the other day. I wasn't in the room. There was a conversation where my mother-in-law was talking to a guy from her bank, and she could get some of her cash out tax free. So she literally wrote a note to my wife on the under the table. How much do you want? How much do you want? Then he was like ringing Tom. How much do you want? Just because she want the pleasure of getting people to see it now rather than
Right.
because hopefully they're going to be 40 or 50 or 60 by the time we die. So at that point, they'll have had to have made their own lives anyway, right?
I think that's a good point also. That's changed, right? People are living longer. So if you die when
Yes.
you're in your 80s, your kids are in their 60s.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
approaching
And
their
hopefully
60s.
more established and
Right.
capable.
They're done. They don't need your money anymore, which is why grandkids are probably a great deal.
Yeah. Although I don't know about anybody else, but I now get these social media in my social media feed. I get all this stuff about about people only living a year after retirement because lose your purpose, blah blah blah. I don't know whether
Is
that's
that a statistic?
well, I don't know whether that's statistically
Some
true.
people do. Some
Oof.
people die young.
Yes.
I'm carrying on.
I think that's why when I was talking with my wife about retirement at some point in the not that long ago, and my kids are all grown, so they're 30, 28, 25, and they heard me, and each one of them said, "Dad, you can't retire." Like it was, like what would you do? They've seen me work my entire life or their entire lives, but they thought, how could Dad just retire? Like what would that be like?
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
a
he
big
thinks,
believer in use it or lose it.
yeah, they think I drive
Because it
my wife crazy too, so that's
yeah,
a whole nother issue.
Now,
I can see that.
I think my kids are very keen for my wife and I to, they're keen for it to stop. They are keen for it to
For you to
stop.
retire?
Whatever I do now, they're keen for that to stop because they can just see that. I mean, my days are very long. You know, yeah, it's all encompassing, really. So I think they want it to stop. Maybe that's an impression. That must be because I've given them the impression of something.
Do you love
Um,
it? Do you love what you do?
it depends what day you ask me,
Yeah.
Mitch. 5 years ago, the answer would unequivocally have been yes. Now the answer is depends what day you ask me.
Well,
Definitely.
you're in a transitional phase.
Yeah, and definitely. And it, I made some decisions sort of, a while ago that sort of things would change. I'd start carrying less overhead, etc. And that I'd become freer. But this conversation sparks from those thoughts, right? The number, what's the number? I remember
Right.
saying, I remember somebody who does a similar thing to you in the UK saying to me a few years ago, 3 million is the number. 3 million pounds is the number. In order for you not to do anything ever again, that's the amount of cash that you
And that
need.
was what a friend said to you, or is that something that you guys
It was what a guy who he would have liked to have been my pension advisor. He was
Okay.
we were the same age kids. That was the number he gave me.
The 3 million was unique to you though, right?
He didn't know me. It was a sort of
Yes.
but we live in a world with our kids are at the same sort of schools. We live in the same sort of social circle. We drive the same sort of cars. We live in the same city, which is a very expensive city. So he was sort of looking at me going, I know who you are. I know people like you. That's the
Hmm.
number. And in fact,
And
the
can I
number,
just ask, when he said you need 3 million pounds, by what age?
I think at that point, he meant at any age, but that I would have been about 53 at the time,
So
probably.
if you retire, he's saying if you want to retire today, you would need 3 million
I
pounds.
think that's probably the number. Yeah, that's probably that.
Okay.
And it was very much a throwaway, but equally, I carried that number around with me in my brain for a number of years. I never took him up on any of the stuff. And it's interesting looking at the surveys that Laura shared with me, and I shared some numbers in the document that we looked at earlier on. They're not dissimilar numbers, are they? There's for an affluent UK resident, 1.2 million pounds, and you guys and the survey that I read from the US from that insurance company is sort of $1.3 million ish. Now they're not, they're not the same, but
Sure.
it's
Well,
interesting.
Mitch, you had a reaction to that
So
when I
I
showed you
I
those numbers.
I do have a reaction. I have one question before that because I really do want to talk about the number because I think
Yeah, please.
I don't think that someone can look at you without knowing a lot about you and what your spending habits are and say, here's your number. But I do have one question for you to think about before that. And you're both we talk about retirement. So, and I remember doing the exercise with it was called Strategic Coach when I was probably 20 years ago now, who said, and basically said, if you could do the things about your job that you love and not do any of the stuff that you don't like, would you want to stop doing it? And the answer is probably no. If you could do what you love all the time, and he actually put another question on top of that because the whole exercise started with, how old are you going to be when you die? And I thought differently until my dad died when he was 63 about that question. But then his question became, what do you want to do in the last 10 years of your life? What do you want to be able to still do? And if you were doing those things, would you still die?
Yeah.
So just a way to think about it and think about retirement too. if I could only do what I love doing, would I still want to stop doing it? And the answer for me is probably not.
No, I think you're right. Laura and I have talked about this before, and I think we probably agree that there's a period where you're going to be retired and healthy. It was the triangles, Laura,
Right.
the triangles. So
Yes.
yes, 70 to 80 or 60 to 70, healthy, rich, mostly on holiday, doing the work that I like doing, but only the bits I like doing, still making some cash. Fine. 10 years of happy loveliness.
Right.
70 to 80, it's all going to start falling apart. Laura's hips are going to go. I'll lose my teeth. The rest of my head will remain as it is. Do you know what I mean? There's that. The decline comes with your world starting to get smaller and your spend becoming. I'm assuming there is a formula for that, Mitch.
I had a client on the phone last week who just retired, and she was explaining to me that it's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. Exactly what you just
Ooh,
described,
That's
right?
it.
So
I like that.
the go-go is like 60 to 75, and then 75 to 85, and then 85 on. So the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go.
He's just given us another 5 years, by the way, Laura. Did you
So
see
Right?
that? He gave us
Yeah.
till 85.
Just like that.
So,
Yeah.
so I've got 15 years of go-go, you reckon?
yeah, I'm hoping. So here's the number piece. So I struggle with this, but I've really thought about this a lot. And the number is unique to you. So you can't, I think it's first of all, it would be for malpractice, I think for me is say to somebody, you need $3 million without knowing anything about their spending habits. I think a better way to figure out your number is to figure out what you spend now. It starts with budgeting, what you spend now. And you need to have enough money so that 4% of that number will give you what you spend every single year for the rest of your life.
So that's segueing into the 4% rule.
It's the
Okay.
Because
4% rule.
I have a question from one of our listeners. No. It's my friend Brian, and he was advised to withdraw 4% of his retirement portfolio each year, but he seems to think that it should be closer to 6 or 7%.
I'll tell you why it's not. And I'll tell you how we got to 4%. So it's not 6 or 7% because some years the market's going to go down. And you've got no recovery because you're probably earning 6 or 7% on on average or in a decent year. So what we do with clients is we run what we call, or what the industry calls, Monte Carlo simulation, which is 1,000 permutations of market returns. So basically,
Okay.
it's some
Dumb
years
it down. Dumb whatever
right.
you're
So
about to say,
yep.
dumb it down.
So some years the market's going to do really well. Some years the market's not going to do well. We have to account for that. So if you think about, I'll call it the math, right? If we actually run something called a Monte Carlo simulation, it'll give us what's the best case scenario, a middle range scenario, and a not so good scenario, and it's done on a bell curve. So it has the typical, typical bell curve statistics. And what we find is that if a client takes out more than 4% a year on average, they're going to run out of money, or there's a better chance of them running out of money. If they don't, we see really good grades on the Monte Carlo simulations. Now, once you get to 80, yeah, you could take out more than 4%. But at 60, if you start taking out more than 4%, it gets you into trouble in the later years.
And just so I'm clear, because I am quite stupid and my concentration span is weak. Your calculation, your 4% is if I've got 3 million quid in
Right.
whatever form that is, right? That's my amount of cash, and that could be 2 properties worth $1.5 million, a pension worth this, blah 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 blah. I need to erode that. I can erode that by 4% of its total value, and either turn it.
I
into
would
cash.
say your liquid net worth, not your and rent. Things like rent is going to lower than the amount of money you need to take out of the liquid net worth.
I've got passive income that's coming in.
Right.
that kind of I would take 1% or whatever off the 4% because I've got money
Right.
coming in that way. Okay,
So if you have $2 million, you could take out $80,000 a year.
got it.
And there might be other sources like Social Security or rental income, things like that, that would supplement that. But that's how we have to think about it. Liquid 4% of your liquid net worth a year, and then you're much safer than if you're taking out more.
And this is the differences. I think we're going to start to see, and they're different now, but they might not be different for long. In the UK, there's a state earnings related, retirement. The state pays you a retirement amount of money of about £11,000. I think it's just gone down about £10,000 a year, not taxed. And obviously, also healthcare at the point of delivery in the UK is free.
Right. So not in the US.
So so what do you have to calculate? And that number, the amount of money that you're going to have to budget for
Right.
getting old ungracefully in the US and pay for healthcare is obviously just going to go up, right? So I have no idea what is an 80-year-old, if you were 80 in America now, what would my healthcare be costing me?
You would pay Medicare and it would come out of your Social Security. So like your government program,
Okay.
people here get Social Security.
Yep.
85% of your Social Security could be taxed if you have other income. And your Medicare, which is your care at that point, comes out of your Social Security.
But the Medicare is kind of crappy, so a lot of people get secondary insurance to
You have a
supplement it.
Medicare sub policy.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, so yeah, what would most people be spending for that secondary thing?
Couple
I think.
That's a good question. You can get med sub policies. It's probably, I don't want to guess. I'm going to say a couple $1,000s.
A year or
Yeah,
month?
but when you get to Medicare, that's when you would buy the Medicare sub policies.
Okay.
Obamacare has changed the landscape of medical care in the US considerably. So now that the states have programs that you can go to and things like that, and who knows if the current
Are
administration,
you familiar
what they're
with
gonna
that,
do.
Jamie? With Obamacare?
I think we're all in Europe. We were already familiar with it because
Right.
it was
Okay.
such a big fight, wasn't it? And
Yep.
he got it got chipped away at massively where it started, but it's still been revolutionary for US healthcare, even though it's a much weaker version than he wanted to deliver. And the
Right.
fact that Trump didn't get rid of it
Yet.
and hasn't mentioned getting rid of it even now is interesting, isn't it? Because
I
it
actually think he has mentioned
has he?
making inroads on Obamacare, but who knows? You don't know where he's really going to concentrate and where he's not. I'll leave it at that.
I work
Mhm.
with
Yeah, let's
I-
not shift
no,
political here.
yeah, the chaos that the tariffs are causing in all of the other countries around the world. I mean, I'm watching it firsthand because I work with lots of online retailers who are right in the middle of, I have no idea about anything. That's interesting. And yeah, it's interesting to God. How do we feel about, well, I suppose for me, the uncertainty in the world does make me want to stop earlier.
It makes you want to stop or afraid to stop.
It makes you want to get out.
I get it.
Yeah.
And we saw that during COVID too. There were a lot of people who just said this isn't worth it anymore. During COVID, I had a lot of entrepreneurs say, "I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore." All those things that sort of make you think about, do I really want to be in this race?
Yeah. What do I want to do?
Yep.
Laura and I could talk to each other every week. I could ride my bike, walk my dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Read some books.
Take art class.
All things that are free.
Yeah, all things that are free.
And go to Wales and not Aruba. Those are.
Can you kite surf in
So
Wales?
what else do we need? Yeah, but you can. It's very windy.
You can? Okay.
Oh,
There
I've
you go.
lost him. Yeah. No, it's very windy. We ended up buying a house there because my kids all surf, and it's very bleak, very grey, very rainy, but very windy and very beautiful. So yeah,
Okay.
it's and it's not Aruba. Nothing. There's no sun in Wales.
Hmm.
I can say that.
Yeah,
I can say that now because no made it to this point in the podcast and things.
Yeah.
The
there you go.
Welsh have left.
All right. What time is it? Mitch has a hard stop soon, right?
Okay, yes. Mitch, what haven't we talked about that we should have done?
I think we've hit on it. I think that if you need to say like sort of final words here, people need to prepare for retirement. And the earlier you start thinking about what it looks like, the earlier you start to plan, the better off you are. You wouldn't take a trip from, I'm in New York, right? I wouldn't go from New York to California without having an idea of how I'm going to get there. Now with Waze, it's different. But I remember when you have to look at a map, you would plan the trip out, right? Otherwise, you're not going to end up where you want to be. So planning will help people emotionally. And if that's why it comes back to what I want people to have is clarity, confidence, and control. And the earlier people get that, the better off they are because they can think about other things instead of having that weigh on their mind. That's it.
All right. I just want to throw in this one thing.
Okay.
One of my daughters shows zero interest in the future, in retirement. She's living in the moment, the whole thing.
Your younger daughter.
So my younger daughter, yes. You've met her, Jamie. Camille.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely different.
Yeah, she's got the world by the tail.
The first kids don't do that. The second kid's much more.
Yeah. So I started a SEP IRA for her. And I said to her, all you need to do is put in $40 a week. That's it, just $40 a week. She's 21 years old. Is that setting her up well for the future?
Getting her to think about it is setting her up well, right? You're getting her to think about, there's a little carrot, and you're getting her move toward it. So it certainly can't hurt her, right? And anything that doesn't hurt her is good. And yeah, she's putting away money. Things will get better. And hopefully she starts to develop that muscle.
Yeah, got to work on that.
I've got to, let me ask you really a very unfair question, but I'll answer it as well. Out of 10 or out of 100%, how ready are you for retirement? I mean, for Mitch.
Ask Mitch.
Well, no, I don't mean financially, not financially. Yeah. Ready. I mean, it can be a combination of all of them, right? Because is it mentally, financially controlled?
I feel like I am doing everything that's within my control right now to set myself up for retirement. Where I want to live, how I want to live, what I want my career to do. I mean, I'm actually thinking about those things.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
In terms of being prepared, ready is not the right word. Being prepared for retirement, you're giving yourself a 9 or a 10 because you are preparing actively for it.
I don't want to seem full of myself, but I think I am.
Go for it. That's great. Right. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could have a part in that.
Yeah.
I'm really fucking jealous of you now. Jeez.
I'm a little jealous too, frankly.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm thinking about your question. It's a great question.
Yeah. And what about you, Jamie?
I would separate.
No, I'm asking Mitch. Mitch.
So I would separate the financial from the other piece. Financially, fine, no question. I'm good. Am I mentally prepared for retirement? Nope. I'm struggling with what do I do next? What does it look like? How much time do I want to spend doing it? And what else do I want to do?
Okay.
And it's interesting, right? I entirely echo what you just said, Mitch. I think what's really interesting about that is we're professional, intelligent, clever people who have worked our whole lives in order to have choice. And now that it's here, we don't know what to do.
Right.
We don't. I mean, I'm not saying I'm in dire straits, right? But I haven't felt confusion like this in 20 years. It's
right.
Interesting.
And actually, you hit the nail on the head because add to it the fact that you don't know what other part of your life do you not know what to do?
Yeah.
Everything else you've got to figure it out, or you will because you need to.
Yeah.
This you kind of will because you need to also, but you like to know beforehand what's going to happen.
There's a very old phrase that I don't know if you have it in the US, but half the money, twice the husband is one of those old. It's like an old.
What's that mean?
I think the idea is if your husband retires, you're going to have half the money and twice the husband because he won't be earning any
my
money.
God.
He'll be
Yeah.
around the whole time. And there are, I'm
Right.
sure there are millions of these phrases like that are designed to be trite outputs of it's not going well.
Right.
They haven't planned it properly.
Interesting.
Well, and listening to the two of you, I think we can make an argument for a gender difference as well,
Maybe.
because men are hunters and gatherers and women are nurturers and
Right.
whatever, and our needs for retirement are probably different than your needs for retirement.
Okay.
That's fair.
Just throwing that out there.
Well,
Just
with
throwing it
that,
out there.
with that, Mitch and I are going to often kill something.
I'm going to hunt.
Okay. Then you should go off and. How's the
Yeah.
house?
Oh, it's great. I'm so excited about it.
That's
We're
awesome.
coming down. I hope to be in July.
I can't wait for the party.
It's going to be great. It's
I
going
will
to be
be.
great.
I'll be in the city. I'll be in New York in October. So I'm going to come. I'm going to come and invade, even if I've just come a view.
Yes, and I will
Um,
be in.
I'll just come and do a drive-by.
Awesome.
That's fine. I'll do it.
Are we?
All
I
right.
think we need to stop, Mitch. You got to go and do your job.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
That was really good fun. Thank you very much. How
Yeah.
interesting.
My pleasure. I'm available for another one of these if you want at some point.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a part 2.
There's
I
gonna
have
be
so many
more.
more questions.
All right.
All right.
And tell Brian
Thank you,
he
Mitch.
needs to save some more money or spend a little less.
I'm telling him. I will tell
All
him.
right.
Thank
All right.
you.
Have
Cheers,
a great one,
everybody.
guys. Thank you
See you
so
later.
All
much.
right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mitch.
What'd you think?
That was great.
Yeah, I thought it went really well.
No.
There was good flow. We asked questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a whole
You didn't
new-
hog it. I didn't hog it.
You got this, Laura. This is good.
He was a good guest, right?
Yeah. Funny guy.
Funny guy. Good guy. Yeah.
Good guy.